You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart and mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. Are You Ready is an NP Media Group production and is the official broadcast of the Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio. The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the host and not that of the station, advertisers, or its affiliates. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You never know when an emergency is going to happen. Disaster can strike at any time. Whether stuck on the road, riding out a power outage, escaping a natural disaster, or surviving a doomsday apocalypse, what would you do? No matter the scale, whether 1 hour or 1 year, will you survive? You're about to hear what it takes to be prepared. Now ask yourself, are you ready? Have you ever heard the term prepper? What comes to mind? Some of you may think it's a crazy guy with a bomb shelter and an old army truck parked on the front lawn. Well, prepper simply is a person who is ready for almost any emergency, small or large. It's no different than on a rainy day taking an umbrella with you when you leave your home or putting a coat on when it's cold outside. So maybe you think you're prepared for a brief time in a certain environment. But what if a few minutes turn into a day or even a year? I'm your host, Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and I'm going to use my over 25 years of prepping and survival experience and knowledge in this program to help you and your family to handle almost anything, from a small event to a doomsday apocalypse. So get ready, because I am prepared to enlighten you to seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? And I want to hear anything you have to say about the subject, whatever you may have to offer. You see, it's important that we share our knowledge with each other, learn from each other, and help each other out. You see, the more prepared those around us are, the better your chances of survival will be when a disaster happens. So I'm sure everyone has heard the term zombies. Well, those are just those that are not prepared and come after whatever you have. This is a live call-in show. The call-in number is 513-815-6336 if you want to be a part of the show. Also, check out our live chat room on Spreaker.com. And I also post exclusive content on the home of Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram. Just go to Are You Ready Radio. You can interact with other members of the prepping community before, during, and after the broadcast. Share your knowledge. Again, the call-in number is 513-815-6336. So originally tonight, I was going to do an episode on prepping for storms. You know, in this area of the country, there is a lot of storms. It's that time of the year where most places in the U.S. do have severe weather. Snow and ice and all of that have pretty much come and gone, and everything else that goes along with it. But most of the time, those events make it hard, to drive. They close down businesses for a few days, knock out the power, and in a short time, you're back up to normal. Unless you're in an area that is normally dealing with that all year round. But there's some other storms. I'm deviating off what my original plan was for this evening, because there's a lot going on in the world outside of just our general prepping, and I've had quite a few messages and conversations with folks over the past few days that really made me think there really are some storms about to come. I mean, everything from war to food shortages. And I don't want to sit here and necessarily just say, well, yeah, there's the big elephant in the room, but we're just going to go on with what the agenda was and planned for this evening, because a lot of the questions and concerns that people had were based on current events going on right now. And one of the main questions is, what do we do if we go to war? What if we have one of those food shortages? And then, of course, you're going to have the school of folks that say, well, what food shortages? Nah, this is America. We don't have that problem. There's never been anything like that in almost a century. Well, think about it. Roll this clip. Clip 18.
With regard to food shortage, yes, we did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well. And because both Russia and Ukraine have been the breadbasket of Europe in terms of wheat, for example. Just to give you one example.
So how could this be? I mean, really? Come on. Well, let's look at a couple things that are happening. Yes, China has been buying up U.S. farmland. As of 2 years ago, I think almost 200,000 acres are owned by Chinese investors. The U.S. is not very energy independent at this point. The cost of fuel is up, and that in turn increases the cost of food. It makes it harder for food to reach the stores, which makes it harder for it to get to your table. Fertilizer. New number here. Fertilizer is up 15% now, and farmers are really feeling it. A large amount of fertilizer that we need is from overseas. Now, of course, couple that with the supply chain issue and where some of the fertilizer comes from, that poses a problem. It's projected to go up even higher. So if you don't have enough fertilizer for your crops, that's going to contribute to some food shortage. You know, you may think to yourself, okay, well, what about livestock? Farming may be hurt, and the food may be in shortage, but there's always fish. Well, yeah, if you think the oceans are really full of fish, we just go catch fish, and, well, everything will be okay. Me personally, I don't have the patience for catching fish. If I really had to, I could, but I don't have much luck. And nor have a lot of people. You know, I mean, yeah, you will find fish around in your area, but the cost of fuel is so high, most fishing boats and even charters that cater to tourism fishing are not operating and canceling charters. Most big fishing companies have reported a 30-35% increase in the cost, and passing it on to consumers may not be an option, as they fear that at some point the customer may say they are not going to pay that. So between staffing shortages, not having enough people to process the catch and fish and all that, that is leading to some major issues too. Not only that, the oceans are really being depleted of fish already. And most of that really, and this is not some global warming thing, believe me, I'm not some conspiracy theorist, and I'm not here to spark fear in everybody, but just give the facts as I read them in the research that I do. But a lot of it is mostly due to pollution from China. You know, the food shortage is going to get real, folks. And just a couple weeks ago, I did mention, 2 weeks ago, 2 episodes ago, I did speak about your prepping survival garden. Now may not be a bad time to really think about that. There's other dangers going on. You know, aside from what maybe the media is really reporting, and this does have some concern. And think about this one. Friday, in Poland, Biden was there. He told U.S. troops of the 82nd Airborne that they're going to Ukraine. That's one hell of a statement. Cut 19.
The average citizen, look at how they're stepping up. Look at how they're stepping up. And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people standing in the middle in front of a damn tank, just saying, I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground.
Are we about to engage in the Third World War? Well, it's starting to sound that way. Here's another cut. This one's 23.
And to clarify on chemical weapons, if chemical weapons were used in Ukraine, would that trigger a military response from NATO?
It would trigger a response in kind. Whether or not you're asking whether NATO would cross, we'd make that decision at the time.
Now, of course, even with those statements, the Pentagon has also this week said that they are sending troops to neighbor countries that neighbor Russia and Ukraine. Now, all this really does sound like talk of war, doesn't it? What are we going to do? Well, I mean, yeah, what can you do? I mean, we, as civilians, don't have much control over that. But in this episode, I decided to change it from what to do for severe weather. You can turn on the news and get some tips on that. I think it's more important to probably talk about how to prep for war if you're a civilian. And, what about gas? I forgot about that one. Yeah, energy. I mentioned that earlier. Our energy independence. Why the cost of stuff is going up so much. Just to transport it. I mean, think about it. Here's an interesting clip I found this week. Here, check this one out. This one here.
How high do you think oil prices can get at the pump?
Listen, there's a lot of uncertainty about it. They're not as high in real terms as they were earlier in this century, and it's conceivable that they could move higher.
Wait a minute, they're not as high as they were earlier in the century? That's 22 years ago. Earlier in the century.
They're not as high in real terms as they were earlier in this century.
Oh, yeah, folks. We got a problem. And we need to be ready for it.
It's conceivable that they could move higher.
I mean, on top of that, I think our president wants to take out Putin. Remember that one? Oh, here. This is number 30. We're skipping over a lot, just to make sure we have some time.
A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire will never erase a people's love for liberty. Brutality will never grind down their will to be free. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
So this should be your wake-up call. At this point, you really need to make sure that you have enough food, water supply. Do you have a way to protect it? Do you have all the essentials you need? 2 weeks ago, I spoke to you about your prepper survival garden. Have you started planting one yet? At this point, you should at least get some seeds. If you haven't gotten any yet, go out and try to find some. Be ready to plant them. Be ready to plant them when it's time to. I'd get them now. You know why?
It's conceivable that they could move higher.
Yeah, the price of that, too, is going to increase.
It's conceivable that they could move higher.
So think about this. If we went to war right now, if there was a war, what would you do? If the enemy came onto American soil, what options do you have? Are you ready for it? During this break, think about it. We're going to take a brief timeout and discuss what you should do, how to get ready. Well, it could be around the corner a lot sooner than most of you may have realized. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. I'll be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker.
When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. If you have any suggestions or ideas, the call-in number is 513-815-6336. Again, that's 513-815-6336. Again, folks, don't forget our chat room is open. And things really are getting pretty intense in the world. I mean, as a civilian, what do you do if there really is a third world war? I mean, look at how intense things are getting. Russia's invaded Ukraine. North Korea's been testing intercontinental missiles more frequently. We don't know quite what's going on with China. I mean, they pretty much took over most of the ports and a lot of the logistics and all that as far as South America is concerned, and even some of our land. The Chinese investors own 200,000 acres of land, and that was as of 2 years ago. You know, it's very easy to, as a civilian, be caught up in a lot of day-to-day aspects of living. Everything we do, from our work, our families, our friends, any hobbies that we have. But we really forget how much we can help our communities take part in activities to prepare civilians for war. War is around us every single day, whether we want to believe it or not. And as civilians, we need to prepare for it. But where do we start? What's the best preparation that we can take? So there's some non-combative activities you can take. And that's just a matter of making sure that you're prepared, making sure that you're safe, making sure that you have the supplies that you need for you and your family, your neighbors, your friends, and even your community. And then, of course, there is the all-out, full-blown, combative approach. And we're going to cover all of them. Well, at least not every aspect of all of them. But I do want, in the limited time that we have here together this week, be able to discuss pretty much in general what you should be doing at this point, given the warning signs, given the times that we are living in right now. And of course, anytime we start one of these things, I always like to start with first identifying what kind of threat are you facing. So we're going to start there, and we're going to build off that. So first, you really need to understand what kind of threats you may be faced with. So, do you live in an area with frequent terrorist activities? Are there military bases nearby that could be targeted on an attack? Once you have identified the potential threat, there's time to start preparing. And of course, when you start preparing, you need to prepare for yourself before you can help others prepare. Because if you're not prepared, you're wasting time helping others prepare. You need to make sure that you have what you need to survive. And even beyond that, thrive. I mean, think about it. We've all been through this whole pandemic thing. How many of you had enough stockpiled to actually ride out the scarcity, the limitations, and even the shortages that came along with it? Well, now we're going to be faced with a whole other series of challenges. And if you're new to this, you really need to be laser focused and selective of what your preps are at this point. For those of you with more experience that have been doing this for years, well, that's a whole other story. You may be beyond the basics. You may be ready for the next zombie apocalypse. You may be ready for World War III. But a lot of folks out there aren't. And that's really what we're doing here every week. And if you are prepared, and you do have any tips and tricks, if you have any insight, if you have any ideas, let us know. Help your neighbors out. So, 513-815-6336, 513-815-6336, and don't forget about our chat room. So let's think about, where do we start? I mean, this may be a very overwhelming idea, very overwhelming thought, to even think like, well, if there's a war, I'm done. I mean, especially if they come onto our soil. Well, what do we do? I don't know what to do. I don't have anything. You know, you look at, what the military has versus what you have, and, you look at the news, you look at, everything you've been seeing the past month, and you're just like, well, if a tank rolled through my neighborhood, I don't stand a chance. Well, first of all, as far as where to start, it's something as simple as a civilian, just know where to find shelter. If you live in an area that has very few active threats, it's still important to know where shelter is. If you're in an area that has a lot of active threats, or the potential for a lot of threats, you probably already know where that is. You may need shelter in a place of your home, or if you evacuate, you may need to go to a more fortified building. A lot could happen. So we need to break this down really into two different things when it comes to finding shelter. And first of all, sheltering in your home, which is the shelter in place that we've spoke about before. And we never really touched on it in the new series, the new relaunch of Are You Ready? But the bug out situation. And then, of course, what to do for a get home situation. So if you're out and about, what to do. Is there an area of your home, a safe room, with no windows and only one way in, maybe? Something fortified. Something solid that'll protect you. Now, that kind of goes along with the whole preparing for a storm thing that I was originally going to talk about this evening. And, you get those weather alerts and, there's tornadoes or hurricanes. Where do you go? Lowest room, earthquakes, what do you do for that? Hurricanes, how to prepare your home or evacuate for that. If you're ready prepared for that weather situation, some of this may be very similar. For the most part, though, like I even discussed one of the very first episodes a few weeks ago of the new relaunch of the show, if you're a novice, a shelter-in-place situation may be best for you if you are able to and it's safe. So you got to go back to your food stockpile, water, first aid, medical, your at-home emergency disaster kits. And if it happens outside of your home, how to get home. Are there fallout shelters in your area? We've heard the sound clips. We heard what we may be facing. Never underestimate the enemy, your opponent, or anybody. Yes, you always hope for the best. But you must prepare for the worst. Think about that one during this minor interruption that we have at the bottom of the hour. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and we are going to really dive into this along with our Prepper Kitchen Tips, Prepping for Pets, the financial segment of this week that has a lot of great advice, as well as some prepping mistakes that you may make. All the usuals that we have, and then some, coming up in just a short moment. Stick around. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I'll be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker.
When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show.
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise. Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Welcome back to Are You Ready Radio. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. The call-in number is 513-815-6336. Again, that's 513-815-6336. Our chat room is open. You can get there by going to Spreaker.com, searching Are You Ready Radio. Go to nickpiercemedia.com, and you can find us live there as well. Click on that player and chime in on the chat room. What are we preparing for? Well, I don't know. Maybe chemical warfare?
And to clarify on chemical weapons, if chemical weapons were used in Ukraine, would that trigger a military response from NATO?
It would trigger a response in kind.
Or how about high gas prices? Oh, no. That's not going to happen, is it?
It's conceivable that they could move higher.
Are we making a move to take out Putin, the Russian leader?
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
I don't know how to open your eyes more, but boy, there's a lot coming. Now, about a month ago, I was having a conversation with someone. I said, boy, there's more on the way. I said, just wait. And even the food. Remember, I think that was one of the very first things I dove into yeah, it was. I said, get your prepper garden ready. You know, there's a reason for things that I say. I don't stutter.
With regard to food shortage, yes, we did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real.
It's going to be. It is going to be real. And this is why I do this every week. So, hang on, strap in, sharpen your pencils, get out your notepads, and be ready. Take notes. Because for the next hour and a half, there's not going to be there's no more time for, I don't think it could be, no. We need to be ready. Now, I don't get very political. In all the years on the air, I am not a political person when it comes to the air. I try to keep politics out of it. But there is a level of concern that may fall upon you because of what a leader is saying on the world stage. And that could be leading us in to some very treacherous times. We need to be ready for it. He apparently was not ready. So here we go. Not first, but now that we're back, I want to continue on with how to prepare. I mean, you're a civilian. How are you going to prepare for war? Another thing you want to do is know what the warning signs are. You know, there's really no signs that a war is coming. I mean, you know kind of what's going on, you know the events, but you'll know the signs. It's not mistakable. It's unmistakable. If you're the type that kind of hates to watch the news, you still need to stay informed to the world events. The standard warning will most likely come from the news and media. You'll also get like the National Emergency Alert System. They'll keep you informed. You have to have a device to be able to tune into that. You know, something happens, the news media will tell you as long as they're still around. And then you can really make sure that you're ready to go. It's time now that once you have a plan with what you're going to do, shelter in place, bug out, that when they say that this is happening, you're ready to move. You really want to stay informed on the situation. So listen to local news very carefully. And you also have to be careful of rumors. Even if what may be a rumor may come to you from a friend, a family member, you really want to be careful with the information that you're reacting to. Make sure it's from a credible source. I have a way of gathering all kinds of information. I know people in certain areas that work for the government, that are in the military, that are on base nearby. So, having a network of the folks that are tuned in or involved really helps. You can also follow official channels like for the government and the military forces on social media. And there's other sources of information out there. Your internet's going to be a very good source of that when you can follow what's going on to the official pages, or on the official pages of, we'll say, the government entities and the military. They'll typically publish important news that will affect civilians, or at least just to inform you about current situation in the country. So you may not get all the answers there. It could be kind of filtered down. Of course, they don't want to create panic. And same thing with the media. The media, the last thing they want to do is say, okay, everybody evacuate such and such area because this could be happening. So they are very careful with the information that they disseminate out there. But, assume that some of what you may be hearing may be very filtered, and there could be something else going on as well. However, don't really jump to conclusions. I think another important thing really is, once you get that information and once you're ready to act, having all your gear ready. Have your emergency kits ready, whether it's for shelter in place, whether it's for a bug-out situation where you have to get out of Dodge. In case of an emergency, the government recommends that every household does have an emergency kit and with different things in it. You really need to make sure that you go beyond that. In one of the very first episodes, we talked about the basics of prepping. And that pretty much, has to do with, what you need and building off of the common, small steps. You want to kind of beef that up now. You should be looking at maybe a couple weeks of water and food by now. And, you should have a better grasp. If you missed the episode, go back and listen to it. It was one of the very first relaunch episodes in the beginning of March. So make sure you check that out, where it helps you start with the basics and the baby steps you build off of and the foundation to really start. That'll give you a lot of information, and we will cover some of that. We definitely want to make sure that we give you as much information in this program as possible, especially during this episode. And I also spoke about in the same episode, it's one thing to have a first aid kit, but have you learned first aid basics yet? Surviving an attack is mostly common sense, but you should know at least some basic first aid so that your chances of survival are better. If a bomb dropped near your house or building, you might have severe burns, injuries, if it doesn't take you out, okay? If a bomb drops on you, you're done. You don't need to know anything. You don't need any gear. You don't need to know first aid. You don't need your plan. You're burnt. You're done. You blew up. Kaboom. You're done. But if it happens near you and you do survive, are you able to treat burns? Are you able to treat fragments that may have penetrated your skin, cuts, lacerations, bleeding, all kinds of stuff, and any injuries that you may acquire? And are you able to render immediate attention to those areas? Are you able to help your family and your relatives, whoever's with you when that event happens? You may not be able to get immediate attention from a doctor or any kind of hospital, emergency room, urgent care, nothing. It may not exist. So you're going to have to help you and your loved ones that are injured. So even if you just watch a few YouTube videos on basic first aid, how to give CPR, how to close wounds, sutures, there's tons of resources out there on the internet. Start going through those. Watch them. Maybe practice a little bit of them now. Especially one videos and all that geared towards treating radiation poisoning. And that could definitely occur after a nuclear bomb explodes. Now let's take a look at some of the items that you're stockpiling or that you should be stockpiling. Now, if you have any kind of firearms and all that, you want to make sure that you have plenty of ammunition. So we're going to go around that for now. But that is one key thing, because you have to protect what you're stockpiling. You got to protect your home. Now, of course, this is about prepping as a civilian. You may not be fighting on the front lines in a war if it does come onto your homeland territory. But at least you stand a chance of protecting what you have, or at least protecting your family. You're not going up against the military. You may have to go up against some marauders. You may have to go up against a bunch of looters. The zombies, as I call them, because remember, those are just those that do not have and come after whatever you have. So you need to protect what you are going to stockpile. Now, as far as what to stockpile, a lot of times when you think of war, and especially up against what could be a potential threat, such as a nuclear power, nuclear weapons could be possible. So first, you can have a lot of packaged food and all that. You want to add a barrier protection to that. So I would put them in another plastic bag or some type of Mylar bag to keep them safe. If you have packaged dry food, probably store them in 5-gallon buckets. Get some 5-gallon buckets with those lids and get a good lid opener too to store a bunch of your packaged food in. As far as canned food, that'll be fine. You want to make sure that you rinse your cans off. Now, here's where I get a lot of, water purification and all this and back and forth when it comes to that. Under normal circumstances, yes, water purification, the water filters, the water straws, any type of filtration is great. Now, the problem that you run into is if your water source is contaminated with nuclear fallout and all that. The straws, the filters and all that are not going to filter out that radiation. So you are going to want to have a water supply stored in bottles. Plus, it's also very, mobile if you have a way to transport it. If in a bug-out situation. Now, for a shelter-in-place situation, of course, dedicate an area of your home to keep your water supply in, and it should be already pre-bottled. And if you don't have pre-store-bought bottled water, if you have juice jugs, containers, just anything that seals, that you can put water from your tap in now so you have safe drinking water later, then I would recommend doing that. As long as it's sealed and kept safe, and you could put it in a cabinet as well. It doesn't have to be wall-to-wall bottled water. And again, remember our first episode where you want to figure about 2 gallons of water per a person per a day, because you're going to use your water not just for drinking, but you're going to need it for cooking, possibly sanitation as far as doing dishes, cleaning up, bathing, and all that. And you want clean water to be able to do that. Now, if you have a contaminated water supply from, we'll say, your city, town, or whatever, due to, we'll say, nuclear fallout or whatever, you're going to need to have a much larger reserve of water. And again, per person, per a day. So keep that in mind. Now, me personally, I drink a ton of cranberry juice. My niece and nephews, they drink soda, so I try to get the 2 and 3 liter bottles of the soda. As far as cranberry juice, you get the plastic bottles from that. Now, you just need to wash them out, rinse them, make sure that you get any soap residue and detergent that you use to wash them out. Some folks go as far as if they have a big pot, they like to kind of they like to submerge them in boiling water. You can do that too. And then fill them up, run your tap for a little bit on the cold water, and go ahead and, fill them up. Put the caps back on and store them. Well, while we're taking a trip around the kitchen, our pantry, and our water storage, let's hit up our prepping kitchen tip of the week. Burp, 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 burpy, burp, burp, burp. Burp, 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 burpy, burp, burp, burp. Burp, 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 burpy, burp, burp, burp. Burp, 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 beep. Burp. So if the water supply is still running, but it's contaminated, you can't necessarily do your dishes through, in your sink or even use your dishwasher at that point. You should have at least a 3-compartment wash, rinse, sanitize system. And you can set one of these up using some water that you have stored and some bins. Yes, I use the same system camping, and it works great too. You can get dishwashing bins cheap at your local dollar store, even restaurant supply shops, and any of your mega marts out there. I use 3 different colors, like I said. The black, which I use for the initial rinse, or just putting the, whatever it is in there to soak. And that just has some soapy water in it. You have your wash bin, which is the gray one next to it, and then the white one. The white one, I typically just put a couple drops of bleach with some hot water, and or even cold water. That works fine as well. In the rinse bin, I do use hotter water. When I'm camping, I typically just put some water in there, and then I boil a little bit to put in there to bring it up to a warmer or hotter temperature. It helps break down the dish soap. And then your white bin to sanitize it. I'm sorry, the black bin. I use a dish soap bin. The gray one is to rinse, and the white one has the bleach. Or you can get some type of sanitizer tablets that you can use depending on how much volume of water you have that you can find in restaurant supply places as well. This is a great way to maintain sanitation when it comes to your eating utensils and dishes when you don't have the option of running water, especially if your water supply becomes contaminated, even if it's coming from a reservoir, or maybe the water treatment plant is not functioning at 100%. You may still be getting water, but it doesn't mean it's actually safe to drink, never mind want to do dishes to put your food on. So water like that may be okay for possibly bathing, but again, follow the information that you get from your news, media, radio, and all that on any kind of water advisories that may be a potential threat to you in your area. But I would always recommend having at least a 3-compartment wash, rinse, sanitize system available when you need it, and sometimes just storing those 3 bins either with your camping gear like I do, and then if I need it, I just pull it out, or just under the sink if maybe you're not one to use the outdoors that way. At least you have a system that you can implement when needed. Well, we are coming up to the top of the hour. We're going to take our brief time out, and we will be back with more tips on how, as a civilian, you can prepare if there is a war. And what if anything happens in your neighborhood? So stick around. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio. If you have any tips that you would like to share with us, 513-815-6336 is the number. And don't forget, our live chat room is open. You can get there at Spreaker.com. Search for Are You Ready? You can also get there through NickPierceMedia.com. Click on the live show link. We will be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to NickPierceMedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit ZombieOutpostStore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to ZombieOutpostStore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Hey, how you doing? This is Magic Pierce inviting you and yours to listen to some good friends of mine that have a show too. Did you really think my daddy is the only one that just runs his mouth all the time and that's the only thing I listen to? No, it's not. I got a show I listen to on Sundays. Join host Max and his co-host, my hottie Fritzy, and of course my good friend Abby on Counterculture Wise, Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. They have their own human guests, Melanie and Jim, each week. They don't meow a lot, but you get what they're saying. Now let me tell you, you have to go to counterculturewise.com. Use your paws to play with the mouse and scroll down to the on the air button on the right to hear their show. Just click on that. After that, watch them on Periscope like I do. Daddy gives me a little mouse to play with, and I give hearts the whole time. It's a great show. Check it out. counterculturewise.com. If you don't tune in, I get cuckoos on you.
Thank you so much for that ringing endorsement, Magic. It warms the orange hearts of me and Abby and the gray heart of Fritzy to hear you say such amazing things about our show. I'm pretty sure that Mumsy and Father have pink hearts, so we will assume their hearts are warmed too.
Forget about it. I got you guys. Good peoples.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening.
You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper.
welcome back, everyone. Our call-in number is 513-815-6336. Our chat room is open. You're listening to Are You Ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And we were also talking about, on this episode, we are definitely talking about the, preparing for a war as a civilian. What do you do? And, really you got to also sit back and look at, are you a target? Where's an event most likely to happen if it does happen on U.S. soil? If there is an attack, what's around you? I mean, first of all, do you live in a major city like New York City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Chicago? Those are major cities that would definitely be a target, more so closer to the coast than inland more. And, if you're not one of those major targets, next you want to look at what other military installations may be around your area. So New York City may not have one immediately in there, but, take an area like Ohio. We have Wright Pat Air Force Base right here, practically in my backyard in Dayton. So, that would definitely be a major target if someone wanted to go after a military base. It's likely that, well, it's hard to say really based on the way the war in Ukraine has been going, with Russia, or I should say the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, because clearly they have attacked civilian targets, schools, hospitals, and all that, apartment buildings. So, of course, they're mostly in major cities. So, you can't really rule that out. It's possible that civilian targets may be hit if there's a major war. And, with countries like Russia, China, North Korea, and even Iran, really having talks behind those closed doors, you really don't know what they're talking, what they're really planning and what they're plotting. But, the United States would be a hard target to hit. But with those nations joined together, and look, I mean, North Korea's been testing intercontinental missiles. I don't know really if they're really able to reach the U.S., but you never know. You really don't know what anybody really has. Certainly, I mean, a country like Russia or China have something that could reach us. So, are you in a major target? Who should really worry the most? Now, of course, we all want to be prepared. And the purpose of this is really not to worry you, it's to prepare you. We want to prepare you, not scare you, I guess as the expression goes. But you really do want to start taking these things seriously. And, when it comes to what your move is and what your plan is, you're going to need some sort of shelter. You're going to need protection from the elements regardless of where it is, and it should be someplace that's fairly solid. And what do you do if your shelter is compromised? Do you really have a strong safe room to retreat into, to ride out whatever may be going on? Is your safe room stockpiled with enough provisions to get through even at least a short term, maybe a day or two, away from maybe your regular rations and your stockpile and all that you may have already accumulated in your regular home? So your shelter, I would really take a look around your home right now and see, is it going to do the job that you need it to do? Shelter is more than just having a roof over your head. It really is. It's protection from the elements and temperature regulation. That's what it is. So, do you have a way to keep yourself warm or cool enough? And do you have protection from the elements? If all else fails and the roof over your head is no good, those two elements need to make up shelter, and especially if you're in a bug-out situation. When you really think about it, the U.S. getting involved in a full-scale war with a rival nation is really a true fit-hits-the-shan situation, just to keep it clean. The continental U.S.
has not come under attack by a foreign nation in the modern era on our soil. And this is why so many people are unprepared for such a scenario. You really want to make sure that you build up that decent stockpile and have your priorities straight when it comes to it. Now, if you live in a major metropolitan area that could be a target for attacks, you want to get two things ready. Of course, your plan, but two things outside of that: your get-home bag and your bug-out bag. You need to be ready to get home if you have to, so a small kit that you carry on you, as well as a bag to get out of Dodge. Now, as I'm thinking about what I just said, I should say maybe not necessarily just an attack in general. I mean, 9/11, Pearl Harbor, all that. But, well, Pearl Harbor's a little different. But we'll say 9/11. That was not an invading force or army on American soil. And this is what this is mostly focused on. But in any case, I want to move on with this thought. Now, really, what's the difference between the two bags? Okay, a get-home bag is a lot smaller than your bug-out bag. Okay, bug-out bag, the term for Bob, your bug-out bag, it is a lot larger, and that's a lot more gear than you would need just for maybe a small get-home bag. Your get-home bag will be much smaller. It's lightweight, allows you to evacuate an area. It won't slow you down. It's made for you to get out of your immediate area that you're in if you're away from your home to get back to your home. Your get-home bag should have about 3 days' worth of survival gear, 72-hour survival kit, we'll say. And you could buy them pre-made, and those are nice. But, most folks do like to kind of do it a la carte and build their own. It's really made for people that need to get somewhere in a hurry and want to make it, get somewhere, least amount of supplies. The gear that you have in there will depend on your skill. And I always say that. Figure out what gear you need, then buy the bag. It's always the most important point I make when it comes to building your bags, regardless of whether it's a get-home bag, bug-out bag, or any bag you're making. But you want to make sure that it's lightweight. It doesn't, you're not sacrificing quality with it. And, something that you could wear on your back. And, you want to start with, as far as some gear in there. Again, this is just the essentials you need to last 3 days to get home. Some sort of small medical kit. You're going to want some water, a way to purify water if you need to. A container to collect water. You need a way maybe to make fire. And there's, think about your basics. Your water, shelter, fire, rescue. Some type of way to rescue. Now, whistles are great. Some type of reflective surface. I hear stories, and I remember the stories, and hearing and talking to people that, yes, during 9/11, they're trapped in there. That they were able to bang a pipe or rail. They were able to, by whistling. Now, I can't whistle, so I would need a survival whistle. Nice, loud, like 140, 150, 60 dB rescue whistle to signal. To make sure that someone hears me, because you may be pinned, you may be trapped, you may not be able to, if your chest is compressed, to really yell or shout, but just something to make some noise, to let people know you're there. Maybe your hands are pinned, maybe you don't have anything to tap on, to bang on, so people know you're there if you're trapped in a structure somewhere. A signal, some audible signal is great. Some way to make water, I would recommend like a stainless steel water bottle. It could be used to boil water in for purification. It has a lid that closes tight on it, metal canteen, whatever it is, some type of water filter. And food. Just 3 days, even if it's just granola bars, beef jerky, put some of that in there, and enough to give you enough calories to help you last. And, some type of maybe survival blanket, those Mylar blankets, or the tack bivvies. The bivvies are nice. Something to keep you warm, take shelter. It's also good for first aid use.
And speaking of first aid, even a first aid kit, something small. Again, this is not major trauma kit. It needs to fit in the pack, so even if it's just a plastic bag with some just small essentials, some gauze, some tape, a couple bandages, some antibacterial ointment, a couple alcohol swabs. You know, we make a great kit at the store. So if you ever come into Zombie Outpost, it really is a nice essential kit. It even comes with a one-handed tourniquet. That's great because, you know, especially if you're by yourself and you don't have any help or someone to, you know, help you with first aid. To stop, you know, major bleeding. Those things are great. Comes with a kit. All the essentials you need are in there. And it's just a small personal carry or everyday carry, EDC, as they're called, little medical kit. You also get like a little tin that we sell with the fire kit and just an everyday essential mini survival kit. It's got everything. And we even have an upgraded version from that as well with a lot more in it. But, I mean, all the essentials are pretty much covered. You just need to add a water bottle and you're pretty set. Some type of knife, something to, you know, be able to carve or cut things with. Maybe a small amount of cord. Something to get a fire started with, even some tinder. There's so many different things out there on the market that are so compact to help you start a fire when you don't even need a lot of fire-making skill. A lot of those little fire kits, survival kits, make fire starting pretty easy once you learn some of the basics. The permanent match is one of my favorites. It's just a reusable match. I have some videos of this. If you go to both our Are You Ready social media page on Facebook and Instagram, Are You Ready Radio, you can also get there through the official home of Are You Ready on nickpiercemedia.com. And also through zombieoutpoststore.com. You'll see different videos on the different YouTube channels, and you'll see them all posted right there on the Zombie Outpost store. You'll be able to see some demo videos of simple, you know, how easy it is to use the fire kit, things that come in the medical kit, the mini survival kit, and even the upgraded EDC survival kit that we carry. Now, I designed these kits. I took the gear that I've been using for years. I've not only gone through so much gear and am constantly revising my kit that I finally found what really works. And I've weaved out a lot of the junk, a lot of the BS. And really narrowed it down to some very lightweight, compact, and reliable survival tools, gear. That are important. With a little bit of that, I mean, for less than $25, you have everything you need. You know, you have the basics for survival. And I've even, I think it's this week, if not next week. I think it's next week. There's one component coming in to complete all of them. And the upgraded EDC survival kit, I mean, this thing is no bigger than 6 inches by 2 inches by maybe 6 by 4 by 2, maybe 3 tops. Very compact. Plenty of room in there for more. About 40 different essential survival tools are in this thing. Off the shelf, including a really nice knife and some really great gear in there. It's less than $80. I don't even think it's that much. Maybe it's 60. I'd have to go look at the price on it. But it doesn't cost a fortune. And this is a great startup for your backpack. Almost everything you need is already in there in a very compact size. Because you want it to be lightweight. Again, this is for your get-home bag. These are your everyday essentials. Very discreet, too. It doesn't scream practical, tactical, prepper, zombie apocalypse fighter. This is, it's great. I'll put some pictures up on our social media and also on the zombieoutpoststore.com website to take a look at it there. A lot of great things in there. As far as, other additions, get the backpack.
you're able to carry maybe a hoodie in there, maybe an extra, T-shirt, a bandana, water straw. You can put your water bottle in there. You have room for some food in there. Anything that you think that you will need to make any struggle a lot easier, to increase your chances of survival, to benefit you, is what you need. We spoke about food. What else? Shelter. Maybe some type of tarp. I think I discussed the emergency blanket, the bivy, even the Mylar blankets and all that. You can definitely use one of those. Mylar blankets, sufficient. You can upgrade to like one of those little portable tube tents, rescue tents and all that. Those are great. Now, a lot of times people overlook two key components when it comes to a get-home bag. A lot of times they think, well, I'm familiar with the territory, no big deal. I know my way around. But should a real disaster happen and the landscape does not look the way it looked when you maybe went into the building, or, something happened, a map and a compass. These two things are very overlooked. A lot of times people think that, you need that in the wilderness. You need that like way out, off-grid and all that. Not in an urban survival situation. No, you should. Whether you're dealing with the wilderness or an urban survival situation, a map of the area will give you paths that others won't be aware of. Topographical maps are very helpful, and a compass. So I'm not talking about just a regular street map. A street map, yes, they're handy, but something that really maps out the terrain. If you know anything about topographical maps, you can see like how steep certain inclines are, hills, obstructions that you may have. You can kind of gauge easier ways around certain things, because you want to find the fastest, most direct, and easiest, less challenging route home. And don't think that you're just going to get in your car if a major disaster happens and you think that you're just going to take the same way you always drive to and from work or to and from the store or the library or wherever it is you're going. You may be on foot, walking for a day, maybe 3, just to make it home. So take a look at topographical maps and have a compass. A map is great if you can orient it in the direction, if you can orient it. You need to know which way is north. Don't just say, well, it's approximately that way. North is always that way. Everybody points. Oh, that's north. North is over there. But when you have a long haul, if you're half a degree off from your starting point to where you think north is, if you're going a couple miles, you may miss your mark by maybe a mile. So think about that. If you're the slightest off in going in a particular direction, and especially if you don't really have any road to stay on, maybe you don't have an established path that you're following, it's very easy to walk around in circles, and you think that you're traveling a lot further than you really are. A day later, you may end up back in the same spot that you started. So a compass is very important to use with your map. And if people are making, other people, they're going to want to make an escape with you. And you don't want to use some of the more popular routes. You could become a target at that rate. And then communication. Even if it's just a walkie-talkie with some common channels for other prepper and survivalists in your area, or even the common prepper survival channels that you can program in to a walkie-talkie. And if you don't know and you can't program your walkie-talkie, just any walkie-talkie, put it on scan to search for other people talking. And then when it stops and you hear something, remember that channel. Stay tuned to that channel. Listen to activity. If all the towers are down, if communication is shut down, radio will still work. And some two-way radios, the decent ones, even the ones you can program, will say an FM or AM radio function on there to receive radio channels as well. Well, if you're regular, at least FM band. So that's two pieces of gear right there. Just a regular two-way radio. Some of them do it. And, maybe you want to outfit your vehicle with a CB radio. Still a lot of folks out there that use CB radio. And, of course, you're going to need a way to keep it powered up, a way to charge it. Do you have a backup power bank for your cell phone? Do you have a battery and a cable? Do you have a way to plug in your phone to charge it? Assuming your phone still works. Those right there are the essentials to really have in your get-home bag. Fire, water, food, shelter, rescue, and keep other things in there. I have different. I'm not that good because I don't use it a lot. When it comes to Morse code, surface to air, signals, trail markers, even semaphore flags, I keep a cheat sheet with the alphabets for all that and just different surface to air signals in my backpack on sheets in a plastic bag so that I can refer to them. Even has sign language on there. Yeah, sign language too. And even some key phrases and languages that I don't speak. So, if it's really odd language that, it may be popular in a particular area, I also have common sayings to be able to have a conversation or, important things like direction, phrases like food, water, stuff like that, words that I can then kind of make important sentences to communicate with folks that may not speak a language that I'm not familiar with. So, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of a get-home bag. A little different than your car bag. Now, your get-home bag should fit in your car if you have a vehicle. It should come with you. It should be within reach of you at most times and almost at all time. And has all the essentials you need to make that trek. Now, your car bag may be a little different, depending on your weather and stuff like that. I keep a shovel in mine, one of those foldable trifold trench shovels and trenching tools, as they call it, along with other stuff that's specifically geared towards riding out, maybe being stuck on the road in an emergency in that case, and that's in my car bag. I will do a whole episode on the get-home bag. I typically do that in September, the first or second week in September. Now, I'm going to get into that a lot sooner, though. And that right there is almost an entire episode on the types of gear, what you're looking for in a bag, how to get it ready, what you need in it. But I just wanted to give you the basics in this one episode to start. Okay, well, seems like that music means that it's time for our pet prepping segment of the week. Thanks to Magic the Prepper Cat for this wonderful song selection to introduce this wonderful segment of prepping for your pets. So I guess, we've been talking about, what if the U.S. gets invaded and what if there's a war on our own territory and all that. Teach your cats how to use a bazooka. This kind of has to do with not just if there's a lot of commotion or anything going on, war-wise, but also even just for storms. What I find is in a shelter-in-place situation, especially if there's like a tornado or a major storm coming through and you're in your safe room or down in the cellar, wherever you're going to get away from it, of course you want to bring your fur babies with you. Having some supplies for them is always important in that safe room. But also having a few comfort items, maybe their favorite toy, a blanket that they lay on. Grab that and bring that with you if you're able to get it. Or just keep some of their toys. Magic has plenty of toys. So there's always a few in different areas that we consider safe areas of the home that are available to him just to bring some sort of comfort. And of course, they sense panic too. So the calmer you are, the calmer they will be to help with their anxiety. Well, that music means it's time to take a quick break. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready? Radio. I will be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart and mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra tone is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And here we are. Yes, you're listening to Are You Ready Radio. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, live with you here Wednesday, this wonderful Wednesday evening. Actually, it's very nice tonight. And welcome to everybody in our chat. And Dave, very loyal listener and follower of not just this show, but another wonderful show, Counterculture-wise. Make sure you check them out on Sundays. There should be a link probably on nickpiercemedia.com to find him. If not, you can go to counterculturewise.com. Check out their show on Sundays. Great friends of our show. Great relationship we have with them. And I love you guys. I know you love me. Hope you guys are listening tonight. And but anyway, my point that I was trying to get to here coming out of the commercial break is that, Dave, I posted that link in the chat room. So if anybody's in the chat room, when I was talking about topographical maps, if you're following the chat, there is an app that I downloaded, and I believe it's in that video when I was talking about what I made called the Zombie Net. I took a tablet, and this is a very old Tips from the Bunker that I originally made on the legacy platform, as I call it. When I was promoting the show, my first round, when I took over after Rick Fleetwood and Dr. Prepper and all that. So that was, I think it was from the original series of Tips in the Bunker, when I shared my version of the Zombie Net, where I took a tablet and took all the information, everything, crammed it onto a tablet, completely off-grid, downloaded all kinds of topographical maps from all over the country, and even lyrics, guitar chords, and all that, because I hate being a drummer. When you're sitting around a campfire and you have a doumbek or a drum, and you have a couple musicians that are just like, yeah, I don't remember the changer, I don't know what the chords are, and no one knows the lyrics, and they're the only ones that can sing. So, yeah, a lot of useful stuff on that one. If you haven't seen the series, Tips in the Bunker, go to YouTube. You can get there through either the Are You Ready social media. Just go to Are You Ready Radio. You can also find the YouTube channel on zombieoutpoststore.com. Click on the Are You Ready content there. And you can also get there through nickpiercemedia.com. Very good point that you brought up. Well, before the break, okay, we got a get home bag going for us, right? That's what we were talking about. And of course, this whole show is extremely unscripted because, as I said in the beginning of it, I just got a message on Facebook. Like, Nick, you're so spot on most of the time. I'm really making this up and trying to go through my thoughts in my head as I am talking to you in real time this evening. So forgive me if I'm kind of fumbling around like Brandon, trying to collect my thoughts as I'm broadcasting this evening, because my original broadcast was to help you deal with severe weather that's coming, tornadoes and everything throughout the summer now that all the ice and thaw, and the snow and all that's gone. And some folks were going to be moving around from different areas of the country. The mass exodus out of California. That's what all that was about. But I cannot look at the giant elephant sitting in the room. And I think I mentioned that at the top of the show. So I'm here to prepare you to seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? And that's my main point. So I really needed to switch gears last minute. Literally, I am going through my notes that I have an abundance of, which is actually my prepper journal, where most of this content comes from. I look back at where I started, and I start from there. And I say, you know what? What was I looking for? What was I thinking of? What answers did I need at the time, many, many years ago, that I can share with you, the listener? And this is what I'm doing. So you will have to forgive me. I did want to speak about, before we run out of time, we have a couple segments I want to get to. And we have, another thing that crossed my mind during the break was, what if you don't have all this gear? Is there something you can get that you can barter with? I know a lot of folks like to say ammo. A lot of folks like to say, what is it? Yeah, ammo is always number one. Weapons. Weapons is another good one. Where aren't coins and precious metals on the list of barter items of mine? Well, coins are not really better than paper money. And also with certain materials, exchanging them and all that may just have a temporary value. And then when you look at it, gold, I don't know if you ever saw this Twilight Zone episode where, I don't know, they preserved themselves, if I remember right, or they hit a stash. Maybe it was Alfred Hitchcock. It all runs together after a while. But they came back to get a stash of gold that they hid, and it turns out it was 100 years later. And they walked across the desert with it. They got to a town to trade it in, and they got laughed at because it's worthless. I get a lot of arguments on this point. To me, if you're going to carry around that much weight, you may just as well carry around water. Water is worth its weight in gold. I don't know how else to explain it. They're worthless. You can't eat them. You can't build with them. You really can't use them for tools. Precious metals and gems are mostly ornamental items with, I guess, no intrinsic value. I mean, at least for anybody that's really nomadic. If you want to stockpile gold and silver, you can. I'll get to that in the financial segment. But is really part of the main thing in anything you really have gold-wise that you're going to take with you and carry with you may not be enough to really barter what you really need. Weapons and ammunition? Absolutely off the list. Why would you rather arm someone some weirdo across the street that you don't even know? Why would you give them bullets just for a match? You always want to have the upper hand. Those are not necessarily on my list. Now, there is certain ammo and certain weapons that are on my list that I do use as a bartering tactic. I'm not going to get into all my strategies, but yes, I do have some. But if you're just like, oh, I'm stockpiling 223 or 556 for my neighbor because he has an AR, and I know he's got my back because I only got this little shotgun over here. You're going at it the wrong way. Maybe you have some things to barter with him that will help with his AR. But in your barter strategy, you always got to think down the road and what will give you the upper hand. Now, a couple of the barter things on my list, if I didn't have something that I thought was highly desirable, I have a plethora of, and an abundance of, certain things. Now, I get it, yes. I run a store. So, I can order in bulk. I get a lot cheaper than anybody can get it for. I resell it. So, yes, okay, I'm sitting here on 144 flashlights. I'm sitting here on 2,000 and something AA and AAA batteries. Good news, backpacks finally came in. Well, they shipped. They'll be here this weekend. But nonetheless, there's certain things that I would say I have plenty of. Those are kind of my barter items. So, some things that you can stockpile that may not cost a lot of money in order to be able to get something for what you have if you don't have something that you need. Things as simple as water. Remember, I said, put them in jugs. Food. Sometimes you may come across food. I have a neighbor that doesn't eat half the food he gets. And he likes to give it away. And I'm kind of one of those number ones on his list. I know that you prep. I know you stockpile. I know you got all this stuff. He gives me pasta just because he doesn't like the shape of it and it doesn't work with his fake teeth. So he can't really eat it comfortably or really enjoy it. So I have 6 boxes of elbow macaroni. Well then, I don't need to spend $3 on a macaroni and cheese kit if I have $1 in cheese in the fridge. I can use that to buy other preps. Medical supplies. Oh, that's another one. You may have things such as heat or light, hygiene products. I was on a site many years ago, Listia, before they switched over to like some Bitcoin model and stuff like that, where you gain points, you get badges, you did ads, you click stuff and all that. Well, I had the luxury of being able to sit there just clicking through things and earning points, and I don't know how many condoms and tampons that I will never need in my entire lifetime. And I just ordered them. Well, sure enough, during the pandemic, I had some neighbors that were not able to get feminine hygiene products. And I was talking to my neighbor one night, and I said, you know what? See what they have, filter them, screen them, whatever. I have some stuff, see what they have. Next thing you know, it's almost like that upsell app or whatever it is. It's like you start with a penny and you get a scooter. The scooter turns into a motorcycle. The motorcycle turns into a Lamborghini. Lamborghini turns into a building turns into a condo. You know what I'm saying? It almost worked out that way. So what started as a box of feminine pads turned into a bottle of Jack that I don't drink. I don't drink hard alcohol. Well, it doesn't take much to twist my arm. I will. But I don't drink hard alcohol. And that turned into a gift to my friend for his birthday. He reciprocated that at another point where it turned into something else. And then it led a bunch of different things. So you may come across things, even something as simple as entertainment items. Another story. I was at a garage sale. This is going back maybe 4 or 5 years. I was going through a garage sale. And I was driving through the neighborhood, and I really wasn't looking for a garage sale. I was on my way to the dollar store. I was cutting through. There was a detour. All of a sudden, there's some signs, and I'm like, whatever, I'll go that way, and then eventually get to the dollar store. Was cruising by, following the signs for the garage sale and the development there, and I saw they had a table, and I saw this, what looked like a Boy Scout, old Boy Scout canteen. I said, well, if they have that, maybe they have some pocket knives, a backpack, and different things, whether it's vintage, maybe it's something eBay-ish, maybe it's something cool. But if I could see that from the road and just sitting out there, and I know what that canteen was worth, what else do they have? I was kind of curious. Well, they had 3 cartons, like U-Haul boxes, full of stitching, crocheting, knitting, embroidery, all these magazines. And I'm like, There was only one thing that caught my eye off the road. Everything else was what most people would think is junk. I said, well, wait a minute. My mom sews, my mom does knitting and stuff, and I said, you know what, kind of along the lines of what I was mentioning coming back from the break, where there's the zombie net. Well, entertainment items can be very valuable. So I figured, well, my niece was kind of young at the time, and she likes doing crafty things with my mom. My nephew gets into a lot of different things on the artistic side. So I'm going to pick up a couple of these magazines. I said, how much do you want for, I don't know. I just looked at the covers. I really don't know what I'm looking at. But it's just something different. Something that I could just throw in the pile with the board games for when nothing really works. When the cell phones don't work. When a deck of cards just gets boring. And, the kids got me a wonderful game of Zombieopoly. It's a zombie apocalypse, but only Monopoly style. It's great. I love it. That comes camping with us. We love playing it. I love the game. I'll sit there and play it just by myself with my cat. Just because it's cool. So, well, I can't go that far. I asked her, how much do you want for these magazines? She goes, you can take the whole box for $1. Now, I didn't want to pick up that whole box. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll just take about a dozen of these magazines. I just kind of grabbed a chunk of different things. I gave her $1, and I said, good luck. Sell the rest for whatever. I fast forward during the pandemic. One of my neighbors was looking for a pattern of something, talking about sewing. And throughout our conversation, we're making burgers on the grill and all that. And I said, you know what? I have a bunch of these magazines. She goes, oh, that's awesome. You know what? I will give you a pack, about 12 rolls of toilet paper if you give me those magazines. I'm like, whoa, what? Totally threw me off guard. I'm like, wait a minute. 12 rolls of Charmin Ultra Soft for those magazines that I have? That's almost a roll of magazine. I didn't really need the toilet paper, so I'm just like, I'll take it. You never know what you may come up with or what you may find that has some value. Fishing and hunting supplies, even duct tape, plastic bags, clothing, and even your skills could be a very valuable barter tool. And don't forget that. So you never know what you're going to find. I do want to get back to, before we run out of time, kind of the main topic on this program. And that is kind of civilian prepping for if a war breaks out. And I really do want to touch on, everybody knows that person.
And this is going to be our prepping mistake of the week. Yeah, I mean, we all have that one friend, or we all seen those TV shows where someone's just like, I am armed to the teeth. I've been working on my battle wagon. I just mounted this new thing, welded, solid reinforced, house around the top, Gatling gun that comes out of the sunroof. You push this button and blah, blah, blah. Hey, when enemy forces invade, they're going to go out in their neighborhood and they're going to do battle right alongside the army. You know what? If a battle is going on in or around your city, town, general vicinity, first of all, it's not likely to be a surprise to you. Chances are you'll know about it. And some folks think to themselves, yeah, here it comes. I'm very excited. This is the moment I've been waiting for. And they grab their rifle, their body armor, they run out to the barn, start up that doomsday modified truck, and they're going out into the neighborhood to protect it from an invading force. You see, the U.S. military informed. They're very informed. And as you're around the corner, boom, you're dead. They just blew you up. You and your zombie tank from the barn. And now you really are just a teeny tiny pile of pieces like over there somewhere. So first and foremost, I do want to say, keep your safety in mind. You don't just run out into the middle where there's military armed, and, if any soldier sees you with a weapon, you may be considered and identified as a combatant, and you will be shot. So, folks, stay put. If, on the rare chance, something does happen, if you have the option to stay where you're at, then do exactly that. Get low. Stay low. Hide in your bathtub, your basement. Crawl in your cat's litter box. Stay away from windows. Don't be poking a gun around. If you have to leave, leave. When you have to leave, though, pay attention to where you hear firing going on. Move away from it. If you see two units about to fight, don't go in your barn and take out your zombie apocalypse wagon, join the front lines, like the A-Team, or Zombie Rambo. Stay low, haul ass, get out of there. Go away from the fighting. If anybody else has a tip for that one, please chime in the chat room. But it is, you will not believe it. People have done that. Before we run out of time, though, I do want to get to our little bit of financial segment for the week. Speaking of bartering and all that, even before that one. So, as I said earlier, a lot of times currency coins, stuff like that, may not mean anything. Stockpiling certain things may be a very valuable asset. But another real asset to consider hoarding is actually real estate. Oil, cars, even weapons, watches, matches, lighters,
multiple pairs of, ready for this, glasses, binoculars, pads, canned food. I hate to say this one, but it's true. Coming from the Barefoot Prepper, socks and shoes. So, since cash may become useless, and it may. I mean, if you look at post-World War I, the German mark fell. I think it was like 4 marks. It was 4 to 8 or 4 to 9, and that was per dollar. And inflation went up so much. Trying to pay back, reparations, it caused an economic collapse. So think about that one when you're stockpiling and what you should really be investing in. If anybody else has anything to add, the chat room is still open, but just for a brief moment. I want to get into our bug out bags, get home bags, and all that in the next 2 episodes. Social media channels are open. Send messages. If you have any questions, I'd like to know. Please feel free to chime in.
Well, I hope that I helped you seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in and the support you give the show. Our guests, the callers, our friends in chat, listeners, clients, customers, everybody at the store, everything. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also find us on the web at nickpiercemedia.com. Click on the program's link. Find us on your favorite podcast platforms and on our home on Spreaker. To contribute to the show, go to Nick Pierce Media and click on the Support the Show link. Are You Ready Radio is the official podcast of Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio, and is an NP Media Group production. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills.
Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening.